count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
You have found Daniel Donato's Lost Highway.
That lost highway.
Yes.
Howdy, everyone. I just want to let you know something. It is August. Isn't that fucking crazy? It's August already. This has been the fastest August I've had in 25 spins on this earth. That's insane. That's literally insane. Think about it like this, too. I find myself right now being at the point where I'm gonna put the seat back on the chair and realize that we're gonna be in this mode for a while. And so it made me realize that I think at least 75% of the shit that I'm worrying about on a daily basis, at least 75%, does not matter. Doesn't matter at all. Won't matter in 5 years from now. Maybe 25% of it will. And I'm worrying about it for a good reason. Because it has a rightful place in the desire cabinet in my life. I think it really makes sense to organize and take stock of this desire cabinet every now and then. There's this fantastic story I read about Warren Buffett. He was flying somewhere with his pilot, and he turned to his pilot and he says, "Hey, surely there's something you want to do with your life more than just fly me around." And his pilot goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, take 25 career goals and write them down." Pilot, presumably while he wasn't flying, writes down the goals. 25. And then Warren goes, "Perfect. Do some soul searching for me. Do some soul searching, okay? What are the 5 goals that you really want to achieve?" Okay, pilot does the 5 goals. And he goes, "Okay, pilot, look at these other 20 goals. Call these the avoid at all cost goals. Do not worry about those. Get rid of those for the time being. Get rid of those." I think in regards to our consciousness and our mode of operation, our minds are very much like a desktop. And the less clutter that you have, the better. And you gotta organize what's going on in there. Take stock of your desires. I've been losing followers on social media for about a month every day. Very strange. I have a software that I follow that I use that shows me like other people's followers that I want to watch or other businesses, etc. And you see it across like different genres of content as well. Certain people are just losing followers all the time for no good reason. And I realize, 1, doesn't matter. Get over it. 2, as long as I'm seated in my intention of bringing positivity to the world and doing what I do best and being the specialized person that I am, I'm justified. And then 3, realize that as long as you're operating out of a place of truth and positivity, patience, and persistence for the consistent and persistent pursuit of your potential, ultimately the truth wins. The truth is the only thing that has the ability to live in the long haul. So as long as you're putting the truth out there as much as possible in the most individualized way that you are you, it will work out. Do not sweat the numbers. One of my biggest heroes, Mr. Albert Lee, one of my biggest heroes. I have learned at least 73 of his guitar solos. I'm not even kidding. I discovered Albert when I was 14 years old. Type in country guitar on YouTube, Albert Lee comes up. You try to go to other search results, they say no. Albert Lee is what you want to listen to. It's like, okay, YouTube, I trust you on this. Wow. We talk about, in this interview, how the Music Man signature guitar came about, how playing for Clapton came about, a lot of his career, his love and passion for music, and how we talk about how passion really is an asset that is curated and developed and appreciated over time, and how it's not a short firework that simply lasts for a year or so. And his deaf cat also makes an appearance. Fantastic podcast with one of my absolute heroes, Mr. Albert Lee.
Hey, so how are you?
Well, how is anybody these days? You know, it's
madness. It's literally madness. Have you guys left the house at all?
Well, we've been here in the house for a couple of months now. I got back from Europe in early April.
Oh, well, you were in Europe in April.
Yeah. Well, you don't know this, but I was in the middle of a tour. I was in Germany, and then they were like pulling gigs out here, there, and everywhere. And we thought we better cut our losses and go home. So we drove back to London, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, was really sick, and she's since passed away. So I stayed around to her funeral, which is April 6th, and flew home on the 9th. So I've been here ever since.
Oh my God. That is oh my God. So a cataclysmic amount of change is happening in your life.
Oh, yeah. Look, and coming home here and not doing anything. I haven't felt like I've hardly played in 6 weeks, 2 months now. My fingers have gotten soft, and
oh no!
But I've got something coming up in a couple of weeks, so I'll pull out a guitar.
What do you have coming on?
Oh, we're doing the baked potato. I don't know if it's a club in LA.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that.
A video from there, live stream from there.
That's amazing. Did your daughter pass away from COVID?
No, she didn't. No. She had a stroke and an aneurysm, and then they discovered she had a growth, and she wasn't in a fit state to operate. So it took a while. She wasn't taking hardly any sustenance for weeks, and I don't know how she survived, but she eventually succumbed. And she's better off now. The prognosis wasn't good.
What is it that you do when you encounter something that challenging in your life? That is an ultimate challenge that no parent should ever have to face. That is just.
Oh, I know. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, I've been long aware of that. So it's something we don't dream's going to happen. And, of course, everybody's been saying that to me. Oh, that shouldn't happen. Yeah, I said, I know, but it did. So, yeah.
That's absolutely insane. Where were you guys in Germany when you were driving back home?
Well, actually, we drove all the way to Switzerland. We were in southern Germany. We drove to Switzerland, and we pulled into the club to unload, and they came out and greeted us and said, "Sorry to tell you, but the local government have just closed us down." So, and we had a few other gigs. There was a 3-day gig in southern Germany, which we could have hung around for, but we weren't sure if that was going to get pulled.
Of course.
So we better go home. So we went back to London.
Oh my God. Are you guys in a bus? Are you in a Sprinter? Are you in the Alberley van, the Alberley vehicle when you guys are over in Europe? What is your mode of transportation?
We rent a bus with our, get back to the old days. We were traveling with our gear, It's not uncomfortable,
Of course. I was reminded the other day of a video that I had seen. I think you were doing the old grey whistle test with Emmylou.
Oh, right, yeah.
And you guys were in Europe at that time. That's been your dojo of operation, has been Europe. What is the climate change? Not literally weather, but how has touring Europe changed over the years? Because I think that was from the 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. That was. I mean, she was very popular then, So we were doing larger theatres, and some clubs, but larger theatres. So where we were traveling on a big bus around England, so it was comfortable. But the days of traveling on a bus like I did with the Emmylou brothers for 26 years, I don't think that'll come back, but for us anyway. Because, hiring a bus and a driver and then having a gear on another truck, is an expensive way to tour. So I'm, currently not in that position. My English gigs go well. Although I'm a little apprehensive to see what's going to happen in September when I go back there.
Okay, so you do have gigs booked that you're.
Oh yeah. No, we've got a tour booked in September and part of October, and we're already booking gigs for next February or March over there. So but thankfully I can survive for a while, but not forever.
Well, even also mentally too. Like, do you still love and do you still prosper when you play on stage? Is that still? And does that change from Europe to America? Are there certain places you like playing more?
Well, I like the English, the European tours because the gigs are closer together.
They're so close. Yes.
Well, they are. 100 miles, 200 miles. But here, if you want to do a decent club, you may have to drive 300 or 400 miles.
I think it's too much.
Yeah, we work. I've got two bands. I've got an LA band and a London band. So when we do the tours here, we actually do more gigs on the East Coast because the gigs are closer together.
Of course.
Yeah.
Were you touring internationally when you were with the Everly Brothers, or was the international touring? Yeah.
Oh yeah. We do a US tour every year, and every other year we'd also do go to England and maybe Germany and Holland, but mostly the UK.
Is there a certain part of Germany that you like more than other parts? I was just there back in October, and Berlin was like by far my favorite place to have been in all.
Oh yeah, I don't get to play there very often because it's a little bit. It's a longer drive from a lot of the other places we do, So because it's in the east.
Mm-hmm.
But I love going to Berlin. It's got a character all of its own, and But we go to southern Germany quite a bit. We've got a good following there.
Southern Germany is really fantastic. Absolutely. We did. We started in the south, went to the east, and then we made our way up to the Netherlands, Amsterdam and Alkmaar, etc. We were over there with Driving and Crying. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Laura Yomets on guitar from Estonia, phenomenal guitar player, was playing with Sturgill Simpson for a while. And it's funny to see the drastic change in culture, even just from the Netherlands all the way to Germany. I don't know if you experienced that in your own shows or not.
Oh, yeah. You just go across the border and everything changes.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, the houses and the road signs and,
The speed limits or the lack thereof.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it there.
Are you missing the road, or are you enjoying, really honestly, despite the circumstances? Are you finding any solitude in being home?
Well, yeah, I like to be home, and our house is a work in progress. My wife and I are hoarders, so I've got just stacks of guitars everywhere and books and albums. And
what kind of books do you have that you're reading right now?
I like technical books and biographies, but my wife is the big book reader,
Yeah.
We've got stacks of them everywhere.
What about that? Is she not? She won't do a Kindle. The Kindle's a no-go.
Oh, no, she won't. No, she likes to have something to get her hands on. She loves the books, and I do too. I like the printed page.
The printed page and the vinyl. Do you still like to do the record thing and observe?
Well, I've had a lot of vinyl over the years, and I still play them occasionally, and Yeah, but mostly CDs. I just inherited a really high-end stereo system, so I enjoyed setting that up, and it's really loud too. So,
I love loud is great.
Yeah, well, we're in a private house, so I guess if I crank it up, the neighbours can hear it. But when I plug the guitar in, some of the neighbours I see them and it's, oh yeah, when are you going to play the guitar again? We always look forward to listening to it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, I plug a guitar in just to make sure things are working and whatever, and I guess they can hear it because it's pretty quiet here. We're in like in the Santa Monica Mountains, and our houses are close by,
That's such a beautiful area. Oh my God,
yeah,
so gorgeous area. How long have you guys been out there?
Well, we bought the house in 83, maybe 82, 83. And in fact, we had our wedding reception in the house in 79 when a friend of ours was renting it. It was a brand new house then, and friends were renting it. And this was, I don't know if you know Jerry Conway.
Yeah.
He played with Fairport and, a lot of folk rock bands in the UK. Mm-hmm. So he was renting the house for a while. So he joined Jethro Tull, and he moved back to England within about a week or so. And my wife and I looked at each other and said, boy, God, how can we get in that house? It's such a great house. So we managed to, I was with Clapton at the time. So I scraped up a deposit, and we've been here ever since.
Oh, so what was the scene like with Clapton at that time? That was Clapton at full Godzilla size.
What? Yeah, he was. No, he was. He hadn't done anything. So I'm trying to rearrange the.
Oh, that's just fine.
Angle. Yeah, he was drinking a lot at the time, So it was it wasn't a great period for him, But of course, it all went a lot better, later in the 80s, after the Unplugged record, and and he pulled himself together, thank goodness, And but when I was with him, he'd play great most nights, but he'd have off nights and be struggling, and I felt really sorry for him,
Wow. How was he as a person? Was it an intimate situation touring then? Was everyone on the same bus? Were you guys flying to gigs?
Yeah. No, we were, he wanted people to travel with him, he didn't want to do the solo artist thing, so we were a band, so that was cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Was he very involved in the musical in the process of you guys coming up with arrangements, or was it a very jam based thing?
Yeah. Oh no, we were we'd kick our ideas around, and but he had to like what was happening, so
it's a fascinating thing too for an artist that is such of yourself, where you've been able to really have this great dichotomy of always being able to serve people who love what Albert Lee does and the things and the songs that you write, and like your music and guitar. It's like you very much so have your own world that people can dive into, and myself included. Like you're one of my biggest, still are, like one of my first heroes on the guitar, and it's like. But the fascinating thing also too, like career-wise, is you've been able to also play in other people's bands. And that to me is like, what a great way of being able to kind of take your ego and work it like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, well, for many years, that's all I did. I was playing with other people, and it really turned around for me when I first came to LA. I was with a band called Head, Hands and Feet, and we got a big record deal, and it was we did quite a number of tours, opening up for big acts, but the band kind of fell apart. A couple of us weren't happy with the way things were going, so we pulled out, and maybe that was before the third album was released.
Wow.
So,
can he see you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. My wife's asking if you can see me.
I can. Thank you, Karen. That's so kind. Thank you.
Oh, well, I was just thinking the Zoom meetings I do, I don't have the camera active so that they can see me. So I didn't know if I needed to tweak something.
Oh, no. Well, I can see myself on the screen here, so I'm assuming you can.
Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, totally. It is all great. That's why. So you had 3 albums with that band.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but we folded before the third album was released, and
because on like Atlantic, were you on Warner? Was it a big label?
Yeah, we were on Atlantic. Ahmed Ertegun signed us, and I think he was a little disappointed that we'd broken up, just before it was released.
I bet so.
So we never toured with that album, unfortunately.
Would you guys tour with Hard Product back then? Were you bringing around vinyl like by the box load and accounting?
No, we didn't carry anything at all back then.
No shirts, nothing.
No. Well, we were just the opening band. Opening bands now would do that, of course, but this was 70, 71, 72.
That's wild. So even just to go and record back then, like what a drastically different landscape we're in now. Like just the simple concept of recording guitar in 72 to 2020 is eons of a difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard to believe. It didn't seem that long ago to me, but I think, God, now that's 50 years ago. Yeah.
Isn't that a scary thing about time? Or maybe you don't find it scary, but
I do, yeah. Because at 76, I don't have a lot to look forward to. You start to realize when you get, well into your 70s, well, hold on now,
But it's like, do you feel that way in your mind, or is it like it's almost as if like your consciousness doesn't age? It's almost just as if like the engine that is your body is the thing that ages.
Yeah, well, I've always been very, very lucky. I'll see how lucky I am when I start to get a guitar out again. But I could go weeks without playing in between tours, and I'd pick up where I left off. But the fingers are getting a bit sore at the moment. But I'll pull through that by the time I'm going to play again.
Oh, there's that thing inside of us that wills us to make it happen. It's a thing that will not let us give up.
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. I can feel that they're a little better today. If I just pick it up every day for a bit, and the ideas are all there, but it just hurts my damn fingers.
Oh gosh. So there is so it's not as if like the brain itself is slow or lacking on ideas at all. It's just like the physical execution is a little bit harder.
Yeah. It'll come.
When did you start experiencing that?
What? Experiencing what?
That kind of lack of motor functionality.
Oh no. Well, I was doing fine up until about 6 weeks ago. Then I stopped playing.
Really? So you're saying like at 76, you didn't feel in regards to the tendons and in the way that your left and right hand moves, you really haven't felt a difference in that entirety of your career of playing. Yeah,
well, I think when I watch videos of me in the 60s and 70s, and I realized that I was playing a little differently then, How
were you playing then? How would you classify, first of all, how freaky is that? Did you ever think that you'd be able to go on a touch screen and type in your name and watch yourself from the 70s and 60s? Does that freak you out at all?
Oh, of course, yeah. I grew up in England, and of course, and there were no videos to watch of your favorite guitar players.
It was a mystery.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Link Ray. When you hear Link Ray, you're like, who is this man? It's that mystery is there.
Yeah.
How would you describe your guitar playing in the 60s and 70s when you had far less experience than you do now?
Yeah, well, I've always, I swapped around guitars quite a bit in the 60s, but then I finally realized that it was the Telecaster that I really loved playing.
What was it about the Telecaster you loved?
Well, I was a big fan of James Burton, of course, and Jimmy Bryant.
Oh.
And I just love that twang, I used to, I was playing R&B and all kinds of rock and roll, but I was buying country records. I was buying Buck Owens records, Don Rich.
Don Rich. That is the best sounding country music. Did you know they used to they would go to Capitol and they would cut 4 songs in 3 hours?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's the way they did it then. Yeah.
Just lightning fast. And Willie Cantu, Tom Brumley on steel.
Sure.
Oh, my God, man. Some of those. Yeah. I was just listening to the other day to a Buck Owens record, Roll Out the Red Carpet. Are you familiar with that old record?
Oh, yeah. I had them all there for a while, yeah. My ex-wife's got most of them. It's all right. We're still good friends, so I need. She's been complaining about them to our son. Oh, we've got to get rid of some of this stuff, and they say, "No, you can't do that, Mum. No, don't do that." I'll spend a bit of time at her house and pick out stuff that I really want. Because there are some albums that and singles, I've never heard since then. So it'd be great to pick them up and give them a listen again.
Was that more of an avant-garde scene musically for you where you were coming from, to be digging into country music that was coming from Nashville and coming from California? Was that culturally, was that a popular thing to be doing, or were you kind of a niche listener?
Oh, yeah, there was a limited audience for it in the UK. I was fairly surprised, actually. About 67, 68, I gradually learned about this pub circuit where there were a number of country bands playing. Right. And I happened to go along to see a band one night, and I thought, well, this is pretty good. I like this, And I'd always sit in with them, And then eventually, I was with Chris Farlow at the time.
Oh, yeah.
An R&B guy, and we'd still do stuff together occasionally. He's still great friends, And so I just wanted a break from Chris. I thought I wanted to go in a different direction. People at that time, I was kind of an odd man out. I was playing a Telecaster through a couple of 410 Bassmans.
Oh.
And no one, I don't think anybody else had them in England at that time.
Were you running any reverb?
I had one of those little Fender reverb units,
Yeah.
I'd use that occasionally, but it made a bit of a clatter sometimes. I stopped using it. Yeah. That's at my ex-wife's too. I need to find that.
She got all of it, sounds like.
So I felt like the odd man out, because everybody was really getting into Les Pauls.
Oh.
But in fact, my first decent guitar was a Les Paul Custom.
What year was that one?
It was a 60, and I got it in 61. I joined this band, and they had the guitar already. They said, "Hey, come and join the band. We've got a guitar. You don't need a guitar." Because the guy kind of discovered me playing in a music store. So, are you in a band? I said, well, kind of in between, So anyway, I joined their band, and I took over the payments on this Les Paul Custom that I wouldn't have been able to afford at the time, because I just started to I'd realized then that American guitars were, they'd opened up the floodgates there, and you could buy American guitars. Prior to 1960 or 61, you couldn't buy American guitars. You couldn't walk into a music store and find a bunch of them. You might find a second-hand one that a U.S. serviceman had sold or whatever.
Oh, wow. Is that how you got your first Telecaster?
I got that. It was second-hand in 1963. I think I paid £50 for it. I think it was a 59 because it was a little bit beaten up, but it was. I think it was one of the first with a rosewood fingerboard.
Oh, wow! And you were pursuing your own musical identity purely on your own accord. You weren't trying to write hit songs. You weren't trying to learn the guitar parts everyone else was doing. You were pursuing this style of music purely based off your own love for it, it seems.
Well, yeah, but I did copy solos for, in the 50s. I was listening to James, and one of my big influences was Cliff Gallup with Gene Vincent.
Of course, on the old Wretch, yeah.
And, or it was all built around scales, and it was a bit more interesting than Chuck Berry, just like honking away in one position,
Yeah, there is that kind of there's the primal sensation of Chuck Berry, but it quickly you can get over it and move on to other things.
Well, I mean, I love what he was doing, but it was Cliff Gallup. I just marveled at what I was listening to. I thought I'd never be able to play that. But believe it or not, I got pretty good at copying his solos. He did 2 albums with Jim Vincent. Mm-hmm. And I pretty much learned every solo. And it wasn't long before I was able to just build around those solos and make them my own. Mm-hmm. Use the ideas and take them somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always done, really. I listen to guitar players and I say, well, that's pretty cool, yeah. But I'd work it in. But rarely would I, nowadays, would I try and copy a solo, from note to note,
Is that because you are more crystallized in your style, or is that because this maybe the inspiration and innovation that was happening in guitar playing back then isn't as present now?
Well, I know there was plenty of innovation going on.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was the era for it. It seems like now there's not as much. It seems like now the innovation in guitar playing is kind of outside of the normalcy. It's like we have 7-string guitar players. We have guitar players that can, turn their guitar into MIDI sounding, like synth style. But it's not like Grady Martin, on a Marty Robbins record, or with that is truly an innovative sound.
Yeah. Oh, one album that really was a big influence on me was Johnny Burnett and the Rock and Roll Trio.
All day long, absolutely. With those octaves on the E string.
Oh, yeah. And, I learned not too long ago that it was actually Grady Martin doing most of that stuff,
Yeah.
I actually played with Paul Burleson a couple of times, but...
Oh, how was that experience?
He was out here. Oh, yeah, it's great. He was a great guy, And, but I soon realized that hearing him play, I said, well, no, there are 2 different guitar players on this record.
Oh, yeah.
And
what a thing.
I love what Greg doing.
Did rock and roll have that edge that, we hear about now? It's like my sister, who's 21, she listens to some music that has edge. And it's like my parents, I'm not really sure about that. Was the music the equivalent back in that time? Was that rock and roll? Was that what Gene Vincent was? Or was everyone loving that? Because I kind of envisioned, I obviously was born long after that era had happened. So it seems to me like that was the edgy kind of modern, innovative music to be listening to and be involved with.
I think, I started playing in the late 50s, mid to late 50s. And the guys who were around then, we listened to all the same stuff, The first album I bought was the Chirping Crickets, Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Come on. Waylon Jennings was in that band.
At the end he played with Buddy on that last tour. But, that was the first album that Eric Clapton bought as well, Chirping Crickets, So a lot of us were influenced by the same stuff, And, of course, Jeff Beck has always been a huge Cliff Gallup fan.
Yeah.
What he does now is nothing like it, but it's, I love Jeff's playing because it's so unique,
So the fascinating thing I was listening to the other day was I was listening to Jimmy Dickens. I was listening to Country Boy. And I had never actually drawn the comparison of the titles together. The first Country Boy I had ever heard was your song. But the Jimmy Dickens version from, I think, 1952, something like that? 1956? Was that prime grand ole Opry, old Nashville style country music? Brady Martin,
yeah, well, I've never heard that. It must be a different song because we wrote that song in 1970.
This song's way different. It's unbelievably different. But it was a number one song. That's the point. It was a number one song. It was played on Opry, and it was one of Jimmy's biggest songs. And it's like,
I think Johnny Cash did a song called Country Boy too.
He did Jimmy's version.
Yeah. Oh, he did. Okay. Oh, well, I'll look for that on YouTube.
I'll send you something. You would love it. I think Grady Martin's playing guitar on it, and it's so good. Grady's, I think, playing one of those old Bigsby guitars, like the Paul Bigsby.
Right. Yeah. I know he played one of those for a while. Yeah.
So when was that to me was the biggest point of entry, I'm assuming for many Albert Lee fans, is the song Country Boy. What is the story behind that song? How did that song is just simply stuck around forever. That song is
it has. I've kept it alive in different situations that I've been in.
That's a great way to phrase it.
I even played it with Clapton, and he'd go and sit behind his amp and have a brandy and a cigarette.
Yeah,
and shout out, "Go on, Albert! Go on, Albert!"
Are you serious? Wait, so you're playing the song live? Are you guys playing arenas?
Playing what? Sorry.
Were you guys playing arenas on those tours, like 10,000 plus seats?
Let's see. I think we did it on a UK tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're playing that song. You play that song with Clapton on stage. Clapton says, "No thanks. I'm going to go sit down and grab a brandy." What's that like? Is that like that's such a weird thing to say, like, okay, I'm going to step up here, because Clapton kind of had that cultural lift of, the Clapton is God thing, right? Which is like, of course, a great hyperbole. You never want to deem that kind of power on any individual, which is simply not true. But the cultural currency that carries, surely, like, does that cross your mind at all when you go to enter your own world and play that song on the stage that's technically his at the time? Or does it not feel like that at all?
No, I thought I thought my position in that band was quite unique, really, because a lot of the guitar players he'd had with him over the years have always tried to duplicate what he was doing, And I think what I did with him was try and complement what he was doing, And but he was very, very gracious. He gave me lots of solos and let me sing one or two songs, and I was doing the vocal backing with him, for a while. And so, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'm just so fascinated. Where I come from in the States, my family comes from New Jersey, but we moved to Nashville when I was 8. And so I kind of have always had this, like, I grew up in the country, grew up in a really small town in Nashville. But my family is so not Southern. They're so not country. And when watching some old footage of you, I see you have T-shirts that say "Country Boy" on them. You're like wearing what appears to be like Wrangler jeans, and it's like you were legitimately in that lifestyle. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain on how did you get into Southern music? Like, what was it that was inspiring you, and what was like? How did you end up getting into actually playing in some of like the best country groups of all time, having come from the UK? Like, that's so far removed.
Oh, well, as I said, I was listening to Buck Owens, and I loved all that stuff, you know, and clean guitar sounds, and you know, it was.
Was there just a scene that developed around it, or was it like your own? Was it your own artistry that started that scene in the UK?
Well, I didn't hear anybody else doing it really until I found that country band playing in 67, 68. And that's when I joined them. And in fact, that was when I really started singing too, during that period.
So really, you didn't start singing just because you like loved singing. You started almost because you. Well,
I always thought that I could probably do it. You know, I've always been a big fan of the Everly Brothers. You know, so I always loved Don's voice. You know, and so I just love all that stuff. So. Joining that country band gave me the opportunity to do that. Prior to that, I'd spent 4 years. Sorry. Yeah, unfortunately, the phone call's coming through.
Oh, that's all right.
So I punched it out. So I forget where I was now. Anyway, I was. It wasn't until 68 that I started to sing in the band.
That's wild.
There was a lead singer, but I do, you know, almost half of the songs too, you know. And that was a good experience. It's taken a while, really, to really get to where I would really be proud of my voice. You know, I did like a couple of albums. You know, I did my A&M album and my Polydor album.
So that was like Hiding Out and the self-titled, right?
Yeah, but and my singing wasn't great then, you know, and I wasn't experienced enough to know what was going to suit my voice. You know, I am now, of course, you know, and I think the real turning point came when I finally got a band of my own in the UK. That was in 87. A friend of mine was running a steel guitar festival every year in the UK, and he'd always bring people over, and you know, Buddy Emmons and Curly. Or he'd bring all the top guys over, you know, and it was great fun, you know. And he called me here in LA one day. He said, I'm going to do the festival again this year, but he said, I want to kind of expand it a bit, you know. And I was thinking about having guitar players. But, you know, he said, would you come and do a set? And I thought, oh well, I guess I could. What can I do? He said, oh, well, yeah, he rattled off a bunch of songs that I'd done. And anyway, I did the show, and I played for about an hour and came off. I thought, boy, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. But I'd never done it before. You know, I'd always been the sideman, you know. So that was such a success that we decided to keep it going, you know. And I think within a couple of weeks, we went off to Yugoslavia to do 2 or 3 gigs, you know. And then from there on, I was touring twice a year with them, you know, up until a couple of years ago when we decided to call it a day. You know, I thought it had run its course, and the bass player was really sick. He had Parkinson's, and he's recently passed away. And we got through a bunch of piano players. They would leave, and And I thought, no, it's time to try something new. And I was going to give the UK a rest, but then.
Oh wow!
And then, well, I'd still maybe go over and do a couple of gigs, but I was touring like probably a couple of months, 2 or 3 months a year over there.
Wow! Oh wow!
And so anyway, I had the offer of doing some more stuff over there, and someone suggested, well, I've got some young guys here, maybe you'd like to play with them. And so I ended up with a bunch of younger players, some eager young guys, and it's been good. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, and that's what I'll be doing again in September when I get over there. Yeah.
Do you ever think about eagerness versus maturity? Do you ever think about the young guys who are willing to drive all the hours to the gig, but they might rush, like literally on the songs? Do you ever think about that contrast? Because you've had such a great wealth of experience in life to where you've been able to transcend both spectrums.
Yeah, no, I think these guys are pretty relaxed. They get it,
Yes.
And of course, as you probably know, a lot of the younger players come out of college, go to music schools to do all that stuff, so they learn a lot more than I did. I taught myself. And, I never did learn to read, but all these guys read, of course, because that's what's expected of them, So,
yeah, right.
So,
have you ever collaborated with two of the biggest heroes that inspire me, that I got into right when I started discovering your artwork, was Jerry Garcia and Willie Nelson. Have you ever collaborated with either of those artists?
I played on a Willie record, and I used to sit in with him quite a bit because Emmylou used to open up for him.
Oh, and, what years was that happening?
Oh, 77, 76, 77. So I'd sit in, yeah. And in fact, his sister played piano with him.
Bonnie.
Yeah, and she'd always show up late. So because I started as a piano player, so I used to jump on the piano and play until she showed up, and then I'd go and pick up my guitar. And Willie was happy to have me up there, so it's cool.
Did you ever smoke weed with Willie?
I've never really smoked much. I've done it a couple of times. I've never smoked cigarettes, so.
Oh God, no, those are disgusting. Those are terrible.
No.
I just would have thought maybe Willie Nelson had the exception, but I understand that. That's fair. That's so funny. Did you ever get into Floyd Kramer? Like Last Date?
Oh yeah, I learned how to play Last Date. Yeah. In fact, it's on one of our Hogan's Heroes records, but it's not me playing it. It's Pete Wingfield playing it. Of course, he played it really well.
Yeah, very extremely well. Yeah, we'll throw that music in the podcast. The thing that that really strikes me in anyone who's a big Albert Lee fan, there is the distinction between when there was Albert Lee on the Telecaster and then Albert Lee on the Music Man guitar. So I'm really good friends with Brian Ball, who is the son of Sterling, and you of course, you and Sterling go back. You guys are infamous villains together in the guitar.
Yeah,
and
I'll tell you how that started. Because
the whole thing.
Ernie had heard Country Boy on the radio. They had Hands and Feet version, and so he and Sterling came along to see us a couple of times. He's like, let's go and see this band. And so that's how I became big friends of the family. I used to drive down to Newport Beach and stay there for a while with them. they're family now, you know, a long time.
The guitar has such a sonic, like a unique tone to it. And it was the first time I had ever heard an out of phase guitar that had the same kind of decay and the sound of a banjo. And like, we're all reminiscent of the Dyer, of the Mark Knopfler and Slow Hand, second moves and strat tone. But you really took that sonic spectrum and it kind of goes across the entirety of the guitar. And you made your own signature sound out of that dynamic of the instrument. Were you inspired by banjo players? Was it that kind of gave you that second pickup sound? It's such a unique tone.
I love, someone who was a big influence on me for a while actually was Buck Trent.
Is that a cat I hear? Do you guys have a cat?
Yeah.
How many cats do you have?
Oh, just one.
Oh.
She's deaf and she makes a lot of noise.
Wait, you have a deaf cat?
Hmm?
What? That's so cool.
Can't see her. Let's get her up there. She is.
Oh, she's nice. I love that. That's so good.
Get up in the morning. She moans and moans, so I give her a can of cat food, and then I make my coffee, and then she's finished that, and she's moaning again for another can.
Do you get up early these days?
Usually I get up 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's not too early. That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Or do you stay up late? Just listening? Are you playing guitar?
Oh, I'm tired. Usually around 11 o'clock. We're watching stuff on Netflix and whatever.
Have you guys?
Let's watch another episode. After I think, no, I've got to go to bed.
Have you watched Tiger King yet? Have you seen Tiger King?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think of that madness? Isn't it insane?
Oh, God, yeah. I haven't followed what's been going on lately. Apparently she's taken over his menagerie there, isn't she? Or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she took over. She won. She won really hard.
Yeah, so, yeah, that must kill him. Boy.
It must kill him.
Yeah.
Netflix, the thing I watch, do you guys watch The Office? Have you ever seen that? Is that your kind of comedy style?
No, I haven't watched that a lot. No, but we have been watching the space thing that Steve Carell's done, yeah.
Space Force. I just started Space Force.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I love Steve Carell. You can't beat him.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning the concept that I always thought this was true, and I asked Sterling, was Albert inspired by banjo players? And he goes, you're going to have to ask Albert.
Yeah. I did love that rolling sound, and that's how I, came up with that kind of thing on Country Boy. And of course, I was aware of Jerry Reed. In fact, he came to London, and I actually played rhythm guitar to him on a couple of radio broadcasts.
What was that like, working with Jerry?
Oh, yeah, it was cool, yeah. Yeah. And, I'd sit around his hotel room and he'd play a couple of things for me and show me a couple of his tunings. And so it was, that guy's crazy.
He seemed insane. I have an old footage of recording of him, and he's definitely on a drug of sort. He's either on cocaine or pills. And it's them rehearsing Eastbound and Down for the first time ever.
Oh, really?
And it's insane, the amount of direction he's giving them. And he really was a producer in that light, kind of like how Chet Atkins was. Well, obviously Chet had way more success, but it's funny that you say he was also a wild, crazy guy, because I guess that reinforces that whole.
Yeah, of course. He'd worked with Chet too, of course. Yeah.
Did you ever? Yeah.
No, it's obvious, when we did Country Boy with Head, Hands and Feet, we actually did 3 versions.
Oh, really?
We did one on a Les Paul Custom, which wasn't mine. It would belong to the other guitar player in the band, Ray Smith. I did a version on my Telecaster, but Ray had also bought a Baldwin Electric Classic, which is what Jerry was playing, So I really got into that. I thought, wow, yeah, I love the sound of this, So I actually, once we'd done the 3 versions, we thought, well, yeah, I like the gut string version,
Yeah, without question.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's very funny for a guitar player to find like their one guitar. And you like instantly like it seems like at least someone who is coming from my era, that is the guitar that they discover you with, is that Music Man guitar. And it's such a legendary shape. And let me show you something that I don't think you've ever seen before. It's the only one that exists. So what we have here. So this is something that Brian had gotten made for me. I'm a big fan of Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. And so what we did is, I figured you'd appreciate this. We took a bar that I played at in Nashville is known as Robert's Western World, and it's where they made Showbud steel guitars, the pedal steel guitars. And it's where Willie Nelson bought Trigger. And so like on a steel guitar, between the neck and the pickup, you have all this area, but not on a regular guitar. So we tried it on a 6-string electric guitar, and it sounds ridiculous. And this is just, whenever people see this across the world, they go, that's the Albert Lee guitar. And so it's like you've been able to capture a legacy all within one instrument, even when it's not painted. People in Germany, Ohio, Mexico, they all know that this is your guitar. And so like, what a fascinating thing. Was it intended to be that way when you were designing Guitar with Music Man? Did you know that this was going to be like your product moving forward, or did it just kind of happen that way?
Well, yeah, I have to say that I did not design the guitar. I adopted it.
Oh, how so?
So it was like I think it may have been the first year that they showed their silhouettes at the NAMM show. First or second year. And they also had about 3 or 4 guitars with this body. And I said, wow, God, I love that. The wacky looking guitar. I really like that, And didn't think any more of it until, for a long, long time, I was doing a lot of gigs with Sterling. We had Biff Baby's All-Stars.
Oh, wow.
Which was Jimmy Cox on keyboards and John Ferraro on drums and Sterling on bass. And occasionally we'd have Steve Morse if he was around, and Sterling's brother Sherwood singing and playing guitar. What a great singer he was. And, we'd have people come and go, who was around, Luke would play with us. And we even did a show with Eddie Van Halen.
That's insane.
We did 2. We had 2 gigs. We rehearsed at SIR, I think it was, and we played the Hard Rock in LA, and also played the bar in Trancas, which was a happening place there for a little while, And it was funny. I was handing over solos to Eddie. He said, "Oh, I can't play this." I said, "Yes, you can. Just do what you do." So, of course, it was great. What he did.
What an innovator! Oh yeah, what a massive innovator!
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Whoa! So it just kind of happened that way over time. It sounds like it wasn't something that was forced, not something that was like contractual. It just happened. Yeah.
Well, Sterling had called me one day before a gig. He said, "I've just had a guitar made. You wait till you see it. You're going to love it."
That sounds like a ball. Those balls, man. They have balls. They'll call you and they'll be like, "This to be the best guitar you've ever played in your life."
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So he'd had it made for himself, and.
Oh wow.
And anyway, he pulled it out of the case at the gig, and he said, "Okay." I played it. Oh, God, this is great. Okay, it's yours. So he gave it to me, and that became my number 1 guitar.
And it was red. It was the red, white Pickard deal.
Red, yeah. No tremolo. Yeah, but
wow, that's so cool.
So but I was playing a Silhouette as well around that time. But that became my number 1 guitar, And I used to do a lot more guitar clinics around that time too. For Ernie Ball, and Sterling would say, "Oh, you've got this clinic coming up." He said, "Well, but please play the Silhouette, but don't play the Axis." It was called the Axis at the time. That guitar, didn't have my name on it. It was called the Axis, and so he said, "Well, don't play the Axis because we're not making it." So I was playing that guitar for 8 or 10 years, maybe. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, and then eventually he said, "Oh, we're thinking about doing your guitar." This was after he'd been working with Eddie, because they built a new factory where they could get the production up, because it was a limited production at the time. So they got. They'd been working with Eddie, and he said, "Well, I think we're going to put your guitar in the line." He said, "Are you happy with it the way it is?" And we were coming up with different ideas, and I couldn't make my mind up what I wanted. I really wanted a teleback pickup sitting in a metal plate on it, and I actually made a couple. But they looked a bit weird, But
that's it. That looks just in my mind. That looks really cool. I wish I could see some of those sometime.
Yeah, I've got one. They've got one. They've got one in their archive somewhere.
Yeah,
and I've got one too.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
I still do love the sound of that telly back pickup. It just got so much meat.
There's nothing like it.
But when Seymour. When they put my guitar on the market, I really wanted Seymour to make the pickups for me.
All day.
Because he'd been a good friend over the years, like Sterling had. And he was always giving me pickups and giving me this and that. He was a big fan and a friend, And we're still close, although I don't get to see him very often. Usually at the NAMM show,
Yeah.
But so he made that back pickup on my guitar. It's got like a small plate underneath it, which does add a little bit more bite to it. It's not like the heavy brass plate that you get with a telly pickup. But I still of a mind to have one made with a teleback pickup.
We got to do that. We got to make that happen. At least a limited run. People would buy that up.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's so cool. I would love to see that. So that's really great. And your playing style evolved from there. Like it changed, at least as a listener, it seems. It might be different because you're the man who plays the notes, but it seems like you truly had the unique Albert Lee sound that hits right in the heart.
Yeah, I think the Everly Brothers had a lot to do with that because
really,
I liked the sound of the three pickups, and I could get some nice sweet sounds on the ballads, which wouldn't have been exactly the same on the telly, but
yeah.
But I did use the telly with the Everlys for a while, but I always felt like
That's okay. That's all fine.
So, all right, it's nothing. I think it's a scam call.
Those damn scam calls these days. You can't trust anyone.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. I won't keep you too long. I really appreciate you hopping on here and taking the time.
Oh, no. Is there anything else you want to ask? Go ahead,
Yeah, so the thing that I just wanted to know is, this is mainly in regards to culture. It's there's nothing been I want to talk about the pandemic because it's kind of crazy. I'm wondering, have you ever experienced a recession in touring that's anywhere near the quantitative size where we're at now? Because it seems like now we're in the Great Depression of the touring industry.
Oh, well, it is, yeah, especially for us, as players. We're going to be some of the last to go back to work, I think.
Right,
You know,
Tim, you've never seen anything like this before, I'm assuming.
no. Well, when I was with the Everleys, before I put together, let's see, when did the Everleys start? I think there were the first couple of years with the Everleys where they were only working about 4 or 5 months a year. And I'd do odds and ends around town here, but it wasn't until I got together with the guys in England with the Hogan's Heroes, and then later on I joined Bill Wyman and his band, and I was with him for about 14 years. Wow. So then I was doing a couple of months with the Everleys and a couple of months with Hogan's Heroes and also with Bill Wyman, so I was pretty busy then, but no, this has come as a bit of a shock, really.
You've seen race riots, like we're seeing riots happening right now.
It's very sad to see, and people are doing honestly, paying tribute to the guy, to George Floyd, but people are just usurping taking the opportunity to create havoc, which is really sad.
It's really sad to see. It's really sad to see in the midst of a terrible health pandemic. That's never, no one I've ever spoken to has ever seen anything like this before. So I was just wanting to see, you definitely have seen a lot of cultural change in your time, and you've been able to have the guitar in your hands through most of it, which is what an amazing opportunity to have in your life. And so I just wanted to kind of take your thoughts on the current pandemic. And it's so it sounds like we're kind of, even you and I, we're in the same boat here. We truly don't know what's happening.
No. I'm hoping that this September tour is going to be is going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be doing the cultural spacing, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because I don't do big theatres, but I do small theatres and large clubs. And it could affect the number of people that they're going to be allowed to have in. And
most definitely will.
Yeah, and so it'll cut down on our
bottom line.
Yeah, sadly.
Oh, immensely sadly. And it's also the thing too, where it's how's the listener going to be comfortable, truly closing their eyes and relaxing when they know, this is unprecedented, absolutely terrifying. Are you planning on coming to Nashville anytime soon? Is there any Nashville shows on the books?
Yeah, nothing planned. No.
You got to do it. You got to figure that out. You got to make that.
Yeah, last time I was there was a James Burton show with lots of different artists.
Have you ever listened to the James Burton Ralph Mooney record?
Oh yeah, I had that when it first came out. Yeah.
You had it when it first came out? Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm so jealous. Man, that record, that is the country guitar.
Late 60s, yeah.
Oh, that is that twin reverb with that just the Fender Telecaster going straight in, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, well, I'm glad we could talk music, and honestly, you're just such an immense hero of mine. It's just an honor, the fact that you said yes to do the podcast. So I'd love to have you on again sometime when the world's in a more stable place, and maybe I'm in LA. We could sit down with your deaf cat, and we could have another podcast conversation.
Okay.
But until then, thank you again. Stay positive, stay happy, and all
appreciate
that good
it.
stuff. All right, Albert, I'll talk to you.
Absolutely fantastic time. Thank you guys so much for listening. So, what were we listening to today? We were listening to the 2020 remaster for Dire Wolf. Presently, right now, playing is Tom T. Hall, Fox of the Run, Bluegrass Standard, and then we were listening to Country Boy by Albert Lee. Fantastic. And also go check out the Jimmy Dickens version when you get the time. But also, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Please do not forget to subscribe. All things Cosmic Country happen on Instagram, my website, through the Cosmic Country Club. It's free to sign up. With the first Cosmic Country album dropping on August 7th, We have that coming out, A Young Man's Country. It's going to be available everywhere. We're still doing vinyl pre-orders. We are almost at 500. Once we hit 500, we're done. No more. Takes a lot to order vinyl. Make it all happen. So we're doing 500. A Patreon page for everyone who wants to listen to daily Cosmic Country songs. I put those out on there. Demos, stuff I record in the morning, nice ambient looping stuff, positive stuff to start your mornings. If you're working out, if you're running with your dog, you got your dog on a nice little leash and you want to look at the grass, you want to listen to some music, right? You want to feel welcomed to start your day. Well, check it out. Greet the Morning Air with Song Cosmic Country Music Series every day on Patreon. It's $1 a month. Check it out on TikTok too. We got Cosmic Country there. We're about to drop a Cosmic Country animated music video for our song Justice, which just passed 20,000 streams. Thank you guys so much for all that. So all things Cosmic Country all the time. And it's the Cosmic Country Podcast, The Lost Highway. My name is Daniel Donato. Thank you guys so much. Stay positive. Stay cosmic.